Depending on the complexity of your projects, you can end up with many light fixtures in your models, sometimes hundreds. Lighting groups help you manage the artificial lights. In this movie, we'll look at lighting groups and their benefits. And I'm looking at the level 1 reflected ceiling plan. And in here you see that there are some can lights down the corridor, there's lots of recessed lights in the various offices, and there's some pendant lights over here in the conference room. There are a few other lights in this model that we're not seeing in this view. But let's go ahead and start with this view and get a look at some of the lighting groups. Now, some of the lighting groups I've already set up already for us here. What essentially do lighting groups do, though? Well, if we wanted to render an interior view, like perhaps this 3D lobby view right here. This is a pretty nice scene. We're standing here at the lobby. It's framed out around the staircase. If I stand in this room and render, there are some can lights right here that are artificial lights. There's some more up here. There's actually some lights behind the reception desk just outside of frame, but they would contribute to the lighting in this scene. There's a little table lamp on here. None of the other lights that I showed you in the reflected ceiling plan in the offices or in the conference room would have any impact whatsoever on this rendering. If I do not use lighting groups, when I generate the rendering, I'll have no way to tell Revit that I'm only interested in the lights that we see in this view. Therefore, when I render, I'll be waiting many more minutes, possibly hours more, for the computations to be calculated, only for Revit to figure out, this light doesn't contribute to the scene anyway. So if you already know that the light doesn't contribute to the scene, that's what lighting groups can do for you. It's basically an on-off switch for your lights. So let me go back to the ceiling plan. Let's start by adding some lights that are already here to an existing group. So if you click on a light fixture, up here on the options bar, there'll be a light group drop-down. And you see that this light currently says none. Now if I click on one of these other lights, you'll see it says an item here, Office 114 in this case. All 4 of these lights are already grouped in a lighting group called 114. So what I'm going to do is select all of these lights here in the conference room. And from this drop-down, I have previously created a Conference Room 110 lighting group. All we have to do is choose that. Then Revit will ask me if it's okay to do that, and I'll say okay. And now these lights belong to that lighting group. Now, if you come back later and you add some additional lights, so let's say I go to the component tool here and go to the same light fixture. Let me do it this way because I can find it easier. Let me scroll down here. Here's the lighting fixture under families. Let's suppose I wanted to add some recessed down lights in the conference room. So I'm going to drag out the 8-inch 120 volt recessed light, and I'm going to place a couple of them over here at this end. Maybe we want to light up a credenza down at the end or something like that. You can select these lights and I can fine tune their position a little bit. Well, those lights are not in a lighting group. So what you can do is you can actually select one of the lights that's part of the lighting group. It will show you here Conference Room 110, and then you can click this Edit button. That will outline the lights that are part of that group in this green color. It'll give me this little light group tool palette right here. And all you have to do is click the Add button on that little tool palette. Click the lights you want to add. When you're done adding the lights, you can click Finish here. And now all of these lights belong to the Conference Room 110 lighting group. So you can add and subtract lights from lighting groups anytime you like. So what I want to do now is I want to create a totally new lighting group. I want to take all of these lights down this corridor here, the sconces and that little desk lamp that are in the reception area that would contribute to that lobby rendering, and I want to add them to lighting groups or create a new lighting group. I'm going to keep the corridor lights separate. There's already a group for that. So first floor corridor, let's just add those and click OK. And then to get to the sconces and the desk lamp, you don't actually see those in the reflected ceiling plan. So I'm going to go back to the level 1 floor plan for that. Zoom in over here. Select these 3 sconces on the wall. Select this table lamp right here. And it says light group none. Now when I open up the list, I don't see a light group for lobby. So I'll go to Edit New. And I'm going to click the New button over here and create a new lighting group called Lobby. Now that adds the group to my list right here, but there are currently no lights in that group. So I'm going to select the remaining ungrouped lights, which are the 3 sconces and the table lamp, using the Shift key. And I'm going to click Move to Group and choose my lobby group here and click OK. And you'll see all those items go from ungrouped over to here. Now, if ungrouped is empty, that's good. That's what you want. Because now what I've got is all the artificial lights in my model are assigned to some group. And that means that I will have more control over the various lights that are going to be contributing to my rendering. Let me go ahead and click OK. Go to the 3D lobby scene. The entire next chapter is devoted to rendering, but what I'm going to do right now is just open up the rendered box real quickly here, choose artificial lighting, and show you this button right here. When I click on this button here, that gives me access to all of those lighting groups we just created. So the entire reason for creating lighting groups is for you to have this level of control when it comes time to render. So sure, you can uncheck individual lights, but if you had hundreds of lights in your scene and you had to go through them one at a time and the only indication you had was downlight, recess, can, downlight, recess, can, you'd have no idea where these lights are located. Putting them in groups, you know immediately, okay, those are up on the second floor corridor. I need those. These are in Office 114. Don't need those. Don't need Office 113, and so on. And you can quickly move through the list and turn lights on and off as required in order to control which ones are actually going to be used in your rendering. So I'm going to close out of here because we're going to cover rendering in the next chapter. A lighting group is used to create a subset of light fixtures for a particular rendering. This essentially provides an on-off switch for our lights. This can greatly reduce the computation time in a rendering by excluding lights that would not affect the rendering outcome. This includes lights that would be in another room or somehow outside of view. So lighting groups are simple to create. They're effective at managing large quantities of lights in your project, and I highly recommend that if you're doing renderings in buildings that have lots of artificial lights, that you assign all of your artificial lights to an appropriate lighting group.